he brings tonight, but Rodriguez, in my opinion, is his toughest fight to date.
It is.
They said his name like it was a joke, a tongue twister, a throwaway line. They laughed at the sound of it, as if it carried no weight, no threat, no history. But in boxing, disrespect has a way of rewriting itself in pain. And for those who mocked Naoya Inoue, man, the world would come to call the monster. That lesson was learned the hard way. Inside the ring, there are no second chances. One wrong smirk, one misplaced taunt, and the lights go out before you even realize the danger you've stepped into. That's what makes Naoya Inoue different. He doesn't just fight his opponents, he hunts them. Coldly, efficiently, without mercy. Every insult hurled his way becomes fuel. Every doubter becomes a victim. And every punch he throws lands like a signature carved into boxing history. The story of Naoya Inoue isn't just about dominance, it's about punishment. For the men who mocked him, underestimated him, and tried to taunt the quiet, sharpie Japanese phenom. What came next was a display of violence so controlled it bordered on art. It started, as it often does, with arrogance. Fighters thought they could intimidate him. They mistook his calm for weakness. One opponent smirked and joked, calling him Inoue because he couldn't be bothered to pronounce his name correctly. "I still don't even know who he is," he said to the cameras, laughing. But when the bell rang, laughter turned to silence. That man was Jamie McDonald-Tall. British, confident, and utterly unaware that his life was about to be rearranged. McDonald tried to keep it long, snapping his jab, using his reach. But the moment Inoue stepped through that distance, the fight changed completely. The monster closed in, and his punches came like rifle fire, short, clean, and devastating. A left to the body, a right to the head, another to the ribs. McDonald's legs betrayed him within minutes. He stumbled back into the ropes, his guard cracking under the storm. Then came the final flurry. A barrage that left him slumped and broken before the first round was even over. For someone who couldn't pronounce Inoue's name, McDonald learned it in the most painful way, imaginable, spelled out in bruises and blood. The next man to test his luck wasn't just disrespectful, he was reckless. Emmanuel Rodriguez's team made it personal before the fight even began. During the pre-fight workouts, Rodriguez's trainer shoved Inoue's father, Shingo Inoue, who also happened to be his son's lifelong mentor. The insult was more than physical. It was spiritual. Naoya said nothing. He simply stood there, arms folded, watching. But behind that silence was a promise of destruction. When fight night came, the atmosphere was electric. The crowd, sensing something primal brewing beneath Inoue's calm exterior. From the opening bell, Rodriguez fought bravely, refusing to back down. The two exchanged bombs, toe-to-toe, testing each other's will. But Inoue's punches were different, compact, surgical, carrying the kind of power that doesn't just hurt. It rearranges what's inside. A left hook to the ribs nearly folded Rodriguez in half. He staggered but stayed upright, pride keeping him alive. Then came another, and another, until his body couldn't take it anymore. Inoue's body shots were like steel hammers, and each one drew the life out of his opponent inch by inch. By the third knockdown, Rodriguez's face was twisted in agony. His insides, it seemed, were turning to dust. The referee waved it off. Rodriguez's pride was gone, his defiance erased. The crowd roared, but Inoue didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. He just looked down at his fallen opponent with quiet composure. The same way a sculptor might regard a finished masterpiece. Violence for Inoue wasn't chaos. It was order. It was precision. And when he entered the World Boxing Super Series in 2018, he turned that precision into legend. His opponent in the quarterfinal was Juan Carlos Pianoa, veteran, aggressive, and unafraid. Piano came forward at the bell, trying to impose himself, to set a tone. But what happened next stunned the world. Inoue threw a crisp, lightning-fast 1-2. That's all it took. 1 second, Piano was upright, pressing forward. The next, he was on the canvas, motionless. The arena erupted. The fight had lasted just 70 seconds. It wasn't a contest. It was an execution. That knockout was later voted Ring Magazine's Knockout of the Year, a statement of intent, but perhaps no opponent. Reflected in Inoue's hunger, quite like Rowan, Cardonosa fighter who came into the ring with 26 wins in 27 fights and a reputation for toughness. From the start, Cardenas tried to push the pace, meeting Inoue head-on. He had studied the monster's patterns, timing his jabs, standing his ground. For a moment, it looked like he might even frustrate the champion. But Inoue doesn't get frustrated. He calculates. In the second round, Cardenas landed a perfect counter, a left hook that sent Inoue crashing to the canvas. Gasps filled the T-Mobile arena. For a brief second, the monster looked mortal. But when Inoue rose at the count of 7, the look in his eyes was different. The calm had burned away, replaced by something colder, deadlier. In the following rounds, he adapted like a machine. Every missed punch became data. Every counter landed by Cardenas was answered with a sharper, crueler response. In the 6th, Inoue found his rhythm again, battering Cardenas with body shots that echoed through the arena. The American absorbed them all, his courage undeniable. But courage doesn't beat inevitability. By the 7th, the monster was unleashed. He cornered Cardenas, pummeling him with combinations that tore through his high guard. Each right hand rattled the crowd's breath. Each left hook brought him closer to collapse. Finally, in the 8th, Inoue ended it. A storm of punches against the ropes, a blur of fists too fast to follow, and Cardenas slumped in defeat. The referee stepped in, saving what was left of him. The crowd rose in applause, not just for the knockout, but for the artistry. Inoue had been dropped, tested, even hurt, but he came back smarter, sharper, more ruthless than before. That's what separates him from the rest. Most fighters react. Inoue evolves. And then there was Luis Neri. For years, Japanese fans had waited for this one. Neri was a villain in their eyes, a fighter tainted by past controversies and arrogance. His grin, his swagger, his history of cheating scandals, they all made him the perfect antagonist. When he faced Inoue, it wasn't just a fight. It was vengeance. In Tokyo, the air was thick with emotion. Inoue's fans packed the arena, their voices trembling with anticipation. When the bell rang, the monster wasted no time. His right hand crashed through Neri's guard like thunder. But boxing has a way of flipping the script, and in a shocking twist, Neri landed a perfectly timed left hook that sent Inoue to the canvas for the first time in his career. The crowd froze. Gasps filled the air. The monster was down. But then, slowly, he rose. His expression was unreadable, but his movements told the story, measured, patient, vengeful. In the next round, he returned the favor. A clean shot dropped Neri flat. The monster had awakened. By round 3, the punishment began. Every punch was thrown with purpose. Every strike was a reckoning. Inoue broke him down piece by piece, unleashing flurries that shook the very canvas beneath their feet. Neri's grin vanished. His body gave in. And when the referee stepped between them, the crowd erupted in cathartic celebration. That night, Japan roared not just for victory, but for justice. Afterward, Inoue spoke softly, as he always does. He said Neri's past behavior, his arrogance, his disrespect, had motivated him to destroy him completely. It wasn't anger that fueled him. It was principle, Naoya. Inoue doesn't boast. He doesn't posture. His violence speaks for him. For years, Western fighters mocked his heritage, downplayed his size, even questioned whether a Japanese fighter could truly dominate on the world stage. They don't question that anymore. His hands have answered every doubt. Inoue's dominance is not. It's just in his power, but in his rhythm, his uncanny ability to read movement, to strike between moments. Watching him fight is like watching a master craftsman dismantle chaos. His footwork is poetry, his timing immaculate, and his composure unshakable. There's a moment before every knockout where time seems to slow. His eyes lock in, his muscles coil, and then impact. Opponents drop before they even realize the punch has landed. The audience barely blinks before the referee is waving it off. It's violence. Yes. but violence in its purest form, clean, efficient, inevitable. And it all stems from something deeply human: discipline. Inoue trains with his father every day, refining every movement, every feint, every angle. It's not rage that drives him, but obsession, the relentless pursuit of perfection. And perhaps that's why his knockouts feel different. They're not emotional outbursts. They're executions designed by a technician. Every fighter who mocked him learned the same lesson. Underestimating Naoya Inoue is not just foolish, it's fatal. Whether it was McDonald's misplaced laughter, Rodriguez's arrogance, Cardenas's defiance, or Neri's pride, they all met the same end. He dismantled them not out of hatred, but because that's what monsters do. They remind the world that some forces can't be joked about, can't be doubted, can't be mocked without consequence. And yet, despite the destruction, Inoue remains humble. No theatrics, no wild celebrations. Just quiet acknowledgement, a bow, a smile, and the ever-present fire in his eyes. He fights not to prove he's the best,